Hey everybody, it is Thursday, which means we are Trekker's Delight, and we are coming at you with a long, serious look at all 5 seasons of Star Trek Discovery. We've got good, we've got bad, we've got Michael. Who knows where it's going to go? So, bean footage?
That's Michael. Every other vote.
I mean, I just want to know what we're going to be ready. Oh, wait, we're going live.
Here we are. Welcome once again to Trekker's Delight.
Like, literally, my mic falls down just as we go live. Hi, everybody!
Why is that person not even moving behind you?
That's what you're paying attention to?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh my god, no.
Love that baseball and the teacup, like clearly TNG DS9 fans. So.
This was a nice touch.
The moans.
The moans.
No, everybody, this is actually one of the main screenwriters for Prodigy, so we are super excited to hear from you. And
Noah
also,
Lessing.
I'm a little embarrassed for being as critical.
Man, I really love that intro.
Okay, I'm going to step out of my usual, that's very self-serving, William, to make the observation that every time Jermaine says the moans, I think we're going into a very different kind of...
I don't even know what he's talking about when he says
I keep getting stuck on Michael saying Noah Lessing when Aaron Walke shows up. Like, what?
Also, Michael, we need to have a conversation. Are we reaching beard final form? Is that what we're doing?
I don't know what I'm doing. Listen,
It looks good.
Listen,
it looks
I feel
hard.
like
brother over there looking like 17 years a slave.
I feel that way, honestly.
I was gonna vote stuck in the back of an Uber too long.
Y'all are never gonna let it go.
Right.
Y'all are never gonna let that go.
Hey, at least he came back. We thought we were never going to hear from him again.
That's
Well,
Bye.
you know, pause a moment. Y'all know I've been busy. And
No,
guess
we
what?
do, but we had actually taken money on whether or not you'd survive that Uber ride.
Michael, you remind me of Tommy from Martin. We don't know what you do.
Right. No, I was thinking Brumman. Okay, Tommy, you're right.
Well, you know, I walk around like Washington D.C. most days and talk to people, and then I come home and fall asleep or go to class and struggle to stay awake.
Class.
I would hope you walk
That's
around
cool.
occasionally.
Cool.
I don't visit a barber, that's for sure.
What are you talking to these people about?
Oh,
Health stuff. Health stuff.
yeah.
And policy.
Oh, you're one of those people like you had 5 minutes to.
He's like a health advocate.
Yes, a health advocate. I like that. Let's stick with that.
Yeah, that guy has gotten really weird. So you know what? I'm gonna move away from like secret agent man down there, and I'm gonna send this to Keith, who apparently has shit that he wants to say.
You know what we could do?
No, Maria's just mad that I finally am officially in section 31 and she didn't get the invite, and that's okay.
I am only jealous because it means you are one step closer to having Giorgio walk over you than I am.
What we could do though, we could talk about Star Trek Discovery as a whole.
Nah.
No shit.
That was what I was trying to do.
That's literally what she just said.
Because
I gave us a perfect segue.
we had 5 seasons.
Keith knows shit and wants us to know shit. I can't believe I have to do this again.
Literally, it's become a line. Let's
You
put it
can't
on
have
a
the same.
t-shirt.
You can't have the same soundbite twice.
Yeah, you
Yes, I
can.
can.
Are you not familiar with how the rules of radio work?
Right. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
You got two video editors in this show right now. Like we
3.
can take a line. Who's the third one?
I'm a video editor.
Charge though.
Oh. Okay.
I'm
I was
So
video
it's absolutely
editing
not me.
before.
I have no practical life skills.
We've expanded the cast.
Before
We
you were
have new
born,
skill sets
William, I
on
was video
deck.
editing. So,
You're gonna make
Keith,
Marie.
God save us. And to just start, just go.
Yes, please. Muting myself.
You don't need to mute yourself. Okay.
You're right.
No, this is valuable personal growth on behalf of William. So
time.
everybody, golf clap.
Yes.
They are coming, atom by atom. They will coil around us, and take all that we are. There is one way to confront this threat by reuniting the 24 warring houses of our own empire. We have forgotten the unforgettable, the last to unify our tribes, Kalis. Together, under one creed, remain Klingon. That is why we light our beacon this day, to assemble our people, to lock arms against those whose fatal greeting is, "We come in peace." With those immortal words, on September 24th, 2017, we were introduced to Star Trek Discovery, the first television show of Star Trek in 12 years after the cancellation of Star Trek Enterprise. Far too soon, as we all feel. We had Star Trek's return on the big screen with the Kelvin universe in the meantime, but finally in 2017, it returned to the small screen. And from there, we have gotten a renaissance of ways with Star Trek Picard, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, Prodigy, and more hopefully to come. So now, as we look back with the end of Star Trek Discovery, with the final lines from the final episode, Life Itself, which appeared just 2 weeks ago. All right, are you ready, Zora? I am. Last time then, let's fly. So with that, let's look back, starting with season 1, which began, of course, with Burnham and crew on the Shenzhou, the beginning of the Klingon War, her arrest and imprisonment for mutiny against Captain Georgiou, the death of Captain Georgiou while attempting to attack the Klingons. And then, of course, you have the introduction of the Discovery under Captain Lorca.
Hey.
Bonsoir.
So let's get into season 1. And by the way, we didn't do full introduction. I'm Keith F. Shelvin. With joining me, as always, we have Jermaine, Marie, Maxwell, Jason, William, and returning from the void, Michael.
Right.
Okay.
I was in the Badlands chilling out. Don't worry.
He looks like he's in the situation room with Colbert.
Right.
No, he looks like he's in the Infinity Room.
Not Colbert,
man.
but
like,
Infinity
like,
Room.
Kovic / Daniels is going to come for you in a minute.
Daniels.
Yeah.
Daniels. Thank you.
Daniels.
You're right.
Kovic / Note.
Okay, I don't
Danny.
know my Star Trek name.
So
My
season
boy
1
Danny.
had us introduced to the crew of Discovery. You had the new Klingons. You had to return to the Mirror Universe, and then, of course, back to see the end of the war. So let's start off with thoughts of how season 1 of a mere 7 years ago.
I like
it up.
season 1. I'll try to keep my emotions out of it, but I like season 1. I even like the Klingons. Everybody hated the Klingons. I thought it was a great shift in the art department. I didn't need an explanation, so I hate people saying, "Oh, how do they look that way now?" It gets on my nerves. But I like the storyline. I like them.
William is somehow managing to like tamp down the full body twitch. Jason's already controversial.
How is it? Okay.
I'm trying. I've done a lot of personal growth. Like I just like when Michael looked at that president and said,
I was really happy to have Star Trek back, first of all. So I think my sister had just died, and I think it really allowed me to like have some sort of focus like in life at that time, you know. But I enjoyed the Mirror Universe. I like the product, the production value was off the chain.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you gotta appreciate that. I don't want to spend the whole time talking. What does everybody else think?
I kind of want to talk about the Mirror Universe character designs, and just like that fierce ass armor that they had was just so beautifully done, and such a stark contrast. Just talking about the production values, and there was just so much thought that went into the sets, the character design, everything in a way that I think 90s Trek didn't have time or budget to do.
Right. And CGI was way more expensive back then, and they didn't even have it back then, really. There was not a lot. The CGI
No,
back
we
then.
had some CGI.
They had CGI, but it was you couldn't do what you could do these days with CGI.
Oh, no,
That's
Without an extreme huge budget for it.
That's true.
Right.
That's true. There were no giant AR walls. Strange New Worlds, I'm looking at you.
Nope.
I have something really quick before we go on as a whole, and so we don't have to worry about spoilers. Maxwell, could you share with everyone how far you've gotten in Trek, so that way people can speak freely about certain episodes?
Okay, yeah. So I've seen all of Discovery.
speak freely regardless.
Hey, fair. I've seen, I guess they're called the Kelvin movies. I guess the Kelvin timeline movies.
Mm-hmm. So forget those.
And and as of right now, 27 episodes of TOS, and I think that's it.
Have you finished
You
Enterprise?
forgot one.
I forgot one.
You-
Enterprise. We're not gonna speak on that. We're not gonna speak on that.
Oh,
Are you not liking Enterprise?
no.
No,
la-
I love it. I love Enterprise, man.
Last
Enterprise
week
is my
he had
favorite.
watched up to Terra Prime. He had not yet seen These Are the Voyages. So obviously he has now seen These Are the Voyages and does not want
I
to
am
talk
so
about
sorry.
that.
I am
Oh,
so
man.
sorry.
I
Did
have to
William
do it to
recommend
him.
you a counselor? Because that shit's traumatic.
Bro, we had a whole conversation.
Ooh.
And it keeps going, man. The pain keeps going.
Yeah, let me show you on the doll.
Well, it sounds like you got
That's
to get
everywhere.
700 or so episodes to catch up on. We'll give you a little time.
I know, man.
I'm getting
Like
there.
when you hit DS9, actually, this would be fun. We should possibly do like on the off season. We should do a Deep Space Nine rewatch with Maxwell.
Ooh, that would be fun.
I'm doing Deep Space Nine now. That's
Yeah,
what-
I'm about to
that's
jump
what
back
I
to
watch
it.
when I
You can do
cook
it again.
when I cook or clean or whatever. That's what I'm watching. Anyway,
I'm watching TOS for the first time.
We'll talk
so
about
I
that,
really
too.
like little things. Like I really like the little worker bees that they got, the worker bots that are fixing this. Like why have
the
we
dots.
why have we not thought of this before in Star Trek? Where there's machines that go out and fix the ship when there's a problem.
What?
We don't know how they fix the ship in Voyager.
What?
How they fix
What?
the damn ship.
Well, they
let 'em put
never
on their magnetic boots.
they never really said it. They just implied it, and depending on the severity of it, determined whether or not you needed to go out there. They never really said, "Hey, let's send 8 men out there on the hull of the ship to fix the ship." They never actually said that. So the worker bots could be a thing.
Except that this is a really interesting point that's being made here. Because we've talked before on this channel about the nexus between science fiction and science fact, right? And how Star Trek has contributed to the development of certain concepts, right? Like cellular phones, tablets, all kinds of stuff, right? My local natural history museum even has like a whole Star Trek exhibit. It's great. I got to visit Dr. Lazarus's uniform, in fact.
Oh, nice.
Speaking of
Which,
they
considering that
invented
I live in the middle of nowhere,
they
it's
invented
kind of
male
impressive.
miniskirts.
Yes, but we don't tend to talk about like the relationship with these new series and our greater understanding of what technology is, right? So even though TNG is so much like one of the reasons they had to throw Discovery into the 34th century is because TNG was filmed in the 80s and 90s, right? Where we were still dealing with pad and paper, and so you'll watch them use pads like they're notepads but electronic, as opposed to how we use tablets now and as different, and even our phones, and have different windows open and like are able to swipe through whatever.
But if you watch TNG, you'll notice they'll have like 5 pads. They'll be like, here's the report on that.
Here's the report on that. And here's the report on that.
Like, why isn't it all on the same pad?
Right?
It got even worse in Voyager. Like there were stacks of them piled up on people's desks.
Because they were conceiving of them as digital versions of items they already had.
Paper.
So the dots are fascinating because we live in a world where drones are readily available to the public on a commercial level. Right? You can go out and, depending on your budget, you can go out and buy them. Dots are basically drones.
And they definitely would have them in the future. Like
Exactly.
no doubt about it.
Exactly. So this is one of those really interesting situations in which, like, we're watching this version of our future being shaped by our present.
And the only time that we see ships really getting fixed, or we assume where they're getting fixed, is in dry dock at a shipyard.
Yep.
Right. So I just mentioned Voyager, where it's like they don't.
I mean, Lower Decks has them go out and fix stuff.
Yeah, Lower Decks does. But I mean, I guess you have an episode of Enterprise where they went to a whole facility to fix their.
Yeah, but
right, isn't that the one where that facility wanted to kidnap Malcolm's brain?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which automatically made it suspect.
No, not Malcolm's brain. Kidnapped Mayweather.
Mayweather.
Also suspect?
Yes.
But I would also say, I think, to Marie, to your point, I love the idea of how you draw that parallel and how, like, today is being shaped. I'm thinking about a line from Star Trek Voyager about Starfleet, when Janeway said, "If all Starfleet wanted to do was like map and explore, that we would have built a fleet of probes and sent them out into the galaxy." And so, to the point of, like, Star Trek and us actually going out to do stuff on ships and build and fix and truly be able to have these experiences, it was really, I think, like the actual show itself. And at that point, even though technologically, I think we were starting to see in the late 90s the emergence of more like robotic things. I think there was the speculation of, at that point, fast food restaurants being completely taken over by robots. And we were seeing more automation.
Japan was taking notes.
Yeah, more automation emerging. There was still that need and that desire to have that human element and make sure that human intuition and that human experience was present. And I think that, to your point, we've devalued that a little bit in our current tense. I think we've devalued that a little bit. And so we're in this space where we're like, hey, it is okay to have that robot go out there and fix the ship or have that experience. And that frees the human up to have another experience. And we haven't necessarily figured out what that is, I think, in Star Trek.
No, I don't.
Well, part of exploring, I think, is it's not just about finding something new or finding a new culture. It's also about sharing who you are and your culture.
All right, Deep Space Nine callbacks. We don't have to leave the ship. The ship doesn't have to go places.
No, the greedy gamers will come.
No, I'm saying even Earth history, when you have explorers, it's an exchange of ideas, and then we'll conquer them, in a bit. But first,
in a bit.
First, let's just exchange, some ideas. What do you eat, or what do you, how do you fix this, or how do you travel, or It's an exchange of ideas. Part of the exploration is giving yourself.
But I also want to go back to a little bit about this conversation about automation too, because I don't think you're wrong.
I'm never wrong.
But I don't agree with that at all. You're just wrong.
There's temperature in space.
Don't do it unless you want to lose 10 minutes.
So we're having a lot of conversation right now about AI and appropriate uses of AI and how far we're going with, how images are manipulated, ChatGPT, that kind of thing. And I think we're starting to see Star Trek with Zora, right? Kind of starting to push back against that. I mean, Star Trek has had a history of dealing with artificial intelligence. We've got Data, we've got Nomad, we've got Peanut Hamper.
Peanut Hamper. You do have Peanut Hamper.
We do.
Well, you have TOS.
We may not want Peanut Hamper.
TOS computer was like, the data has not been solidified yet.
But Zora is really kind of interesting, because Zora is the ship in kind of a way. So we have this question about, especially that's posed by the end of Discovery in Let's Fly, like, how appropriate is it to maroon Zora for thousands of years?
It's not appropriate. I felt really sorry for her, for the ship, sitting there playing movies over and over by herself. Like,
I know we're in season 1 still, and I have a comment about Jason Isaacs, but
other than how beautifully tight that uniform was.
Well, we'll let Marie's
Oh, cool.
fantasies like just but
No, he himself actually complained about it, like because after he concluded shooting as Lorca, he tweeted back when it was still called Twitter, you know, for sale 1 Starfleet uniform fits bloody nobody.
Right.
Because he was just like, that's too tight.
I have to say, I did like his character as Lorca.
I loved it.
I liked him as the captain of Discovery, and then even when they went over to the Mirror Universe, you know, I liked his character.
Yeah, I loved Lorca.
Hello,
Lorca's really-
Puffer.
And I felt like not the first time, but I really felt like having him there actually elevated the acting on the show. I felt like it just maybe, I don't know, maybe his like Harry Potter experience. He's just a very good actor. And I feel like it just brought up the overall performance in season 1, having such a big, like a well-known name and a very recognizable face.
Yeah.
There, and just a very talented acting set. And I felt like I loved the hues of darkness that they were able to weave in with his storyline into Star Trek Discovery. And it really like, yeah.
You know that was LeVar Burton in TNG, right?
What?
Yeah. Yes, because when TNG aired, LeVar Burton was fresh off of
Roots. Yes. Oh, I get what. Yes. Okay.
So he was the big name. Nobody really heard a tremendous amount about Jean-Luc Picard, like Patrick Stewart or any of the other characters.
Some unknown Shakespearean actor.
Yes.
As the joke goes. Yeah.
Yes.
Lorca seemed like a captain like you respect, but you don't want to fuck with, right? Like, I think nobody wanted to fuck with Lorca as a captain.
Right.
So Lorca is dead, right?
I assume so.
I think
I would hope so.
Both universes,
Because
them, yeah.
when he fell into the star, I thought he turned into like a blue speck. That's what I thought happened.
No,
But
that was
he was ripped apart.
Oh, okay, cool. Then great. So anything we hated? Wait.
We all hated the resolution.
Wait, okay.
Bomb in Kronos.
I might lighten up a little bit on the Klingons thing.
I will never lighten up on that.
Hold on. No,
stand your ground.
Because
first of all, you never even watched Star Trek. You don't even have an emotional input into it. What do you mean? Like,
I've seen them for a while now.
Michael, this is not that kind of podcast.
Okay, Keith.
None of us vote that way.
I appreciated the diversity they put into it with the clothing and the different skin hues and the showing that Kronos is a whole planet.
Okay, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I didn't have. I couldn't stand what I was. I told you they look like walking lizards. They looked like
They're
another.
aliens.
They look. I understand that, but hear me out. After rewatching it's the offshoot of the Augments episode in Enterprise, like in season 4, and the dude, he ended up having a human look himself. He said something that really made sense to me. He said only a few million Klingons have this genetic thing where they look human for about 2 or 3 generations, however long it's going to take. But he also said at the very end, hey, cosmetic might go into business as well. So as my William Trek theory, I'm going to assume that a lot of those Klingons went too far with that cosmetic service. And they
I don't. That's why I don't understand. I don't understand
my ground.
Why you need an in-story reason for the change of the look when it's simply.
Why would you not need an in-story reason?
It's just a production decision because they could do more now. It's just a production decision. Why does everybody need to know? Well, how did that happen? It's like,
because that's what we get in Star Trek.
Yeah, it adds more to the world.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of why Star Trek podcasting magazines and using that board started from people
the
going
best
up to the plot hole.
We're going to talk about it.
Do you
The best
remember,
explanation.
Do you remember the backlash from the new Klingon design in TNG.
Yep.
From the movie.
Okay,
It was
can y'all,
ugly.
okay,
Wait,
can y'all
wait,
tell
wait,
me?
wait, hold on. The best explanation is what Worf said. And it just said, we do not discuss it. If we would just left it at that, I would have been happy and never even had the Enterprise episode trying to explain it. Just leave
Bro.
it. We don't
Bro,
discuss
that was before Enterprise, Discovery, Strange Jones, before all of that. That don't count no more. Like you can't run away to that. You can't run away.
All right. So season 1. How do we feel about season 1 of
One of my
Discovery?
favorites.
Rein them in, Marie. Rein them in.
It's either
On what scale?
I thought it was 10 out of 10. 9 out of 10.
All right, how it compares to other,
I can
other
also say
Star
9 out of
Trek
10, to be
series
honest.
that you've seen? How does season 1 of Discovery compare?
Well, you can't beat Enterprise, so it's got to be 0 out of 10 as far as.
My man loves some Enterprise. Ooh,
Remove Maxwell from this. Please remove Maxwell.
Come on, no, Enterprise good, bro. It's
Please
good.
remove Maxwell
Dude,
from the show.
we are going to use your auto ban in a minute.
I think he just likes.
Come
I think
on,
he
man.
just likes the decontamination scenes.
There's like 3 of them, so no.
Jermaine, your thoughts?
Jermaine's like, I have thoughts. I didn't know.
Looking like a Cyberman.
Actually, I think that Discovery's first season was probably one of the best that Star Trek has ever had. Whether you're thinking about its writing, whether you're thinking about its directing, how they infused different storylines into past storylines in terms of Star Trek into what we saw. I loved it. Even how they planned out all of the seasons that we eventually saw. Discovery was one of the best, especially when you think about the fact that it was building off of what Deep Space Nine had done in terms of its long story arcs.
Mm-hmm.
Discovery was one of the best. Those are thoughts.
Well done.
Thoughts from Jermaine.
You have to remember, if Discovery season 1 had not been successful, if it had truly been trash, as some people on the internet claim, we would not have Picard, we would not have Strange New Worlds, we would not have Lower Decks or Prodigy or Starfleet Academy or Section 31. So it
And I
had,
think that's important to remember.
yeah. And for the people who try to claim that Star Trek wasn't, you can't give Discovery props for Star Trek coming back to TV. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you have to. You have to.
All right.
I will say, if I can just, I would just say that season 1, I don't know if it was one of, I would have to really sit down and think about each season of Star Trek to like refute that. But it was an amazing season, and it left me wanting more. It literally made me want to get up and go see the show. And they didn't have a lot of dead episodes.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Which I felt was very, very like, I remember
So you're saying there was no
every day at 9 o'clock to make sure I was seated on that Sunday to watch Star Trek.
So you're saying there was no code of honor in Discovery season 1?
Jesus.
Code of honor?
No, that was like TNG episode first season.
It was.
Number 3 or 4 or something like that.
Terrible.
Oh, you mean
So-
blatant racism or
Yeah.
never mind.
He tried to get that white woman, and
but I think there's a good point here, right? Like, what was wonderful about season 1 is for about the first half, we were all kind of like, we're not super sure what you're doing. And then the second half of season 1, when we get the mirror universe, all of a sudden, there's the payoff. And really, I think that was predictive of how the rest of Discovery was going to go, right? Like, you had to give Disco time to get going and for them to develop these long plot arcs that were going to pay off in dividends. You just didn't know it when you were necessarily watching them. Now, there are seasons that I don't think paid off as well. Red Angel. Sorry.
Something caught in your throat there, Marie.
Right. My trauma
I
is
had a
in my
problem
throat.
with the first half of season 1. I was into it. I wasn't wondering where it was going.
And remember, season 1 was released up until they arrive in the mirror universe, and then we had a 3-month break.
Right.
And then it came back in January or months
and
later.
And we were all like, "Oh, the mirror universe."
Can we just get to season 2 so me and Marie can go at it?
Okay, so season 1 is brought to a close with the end of the Klingon war.
He's willing to do it. The Tribble is upset.
Peace is declared. Don't make me sick moopsy on that Tribble. Actually, no, the Tribble will be fine because the Tribble don't have no bones.
No. Well, it's got a boner, but no bones.
So peace is declared. Burnham is restored to her rank as commander.
Marie is signing up for timeout soon too.
The Discovery is sent to Vulcan to meet its new captain, but on their way they get a distress call, and they'd have to go see the OG NCC 1701, no bloody A, B, C, or D Enterprise under Captain Pike. And so that ends us with season 1. And season 2, we get the introduction of the Red Angel, Captain Pike taking over as captain of the Discovery, the search for Spock, the return of Giorgio as a member of Section 31, and then, of course, even more crazy AI with Control.
Yes.
So, Marie, please.
Now, I will say there are some introductions that I really, really loved. I loved James Frain's Sarek. Because I think James Frain was very on board with the fact that Sarek was a profoundly flawed human or Vulcan being who had not treated either of his children very well for various reasons. We also got a fantastic Amanda.
But we don't know. We don't know if Vulcans do treat their children well.
You know, I think we do, though. I think we do, because I think we hear a lot of the discussion of how Tuvok treats his kids in Voyager.
True, yeah. And T'Pol was at least decently, stable.
Right. But Sarek is not. Sarek has consistently put his own political interests ahead of the well-being of his children. Both of them, natural, all three of them actually, natural born and.
You better count Cyborg.
What?
Cyborg
I am counting Cyborg. Look, I corrected myself. Thank you.
There's no play up in here. Cyborg is no play up in here.
Oh.
Yeah, no. Star Trek V happened. He's a thing. He's a thing that happened.
Will and Max.
Well, I'm sure Will is going to have a brief conversation with Maxwell about who Cyborg is.
Oh, the power went out in their apartment.
Oh, okay.
So, okay.
But anyway, I thought those aspects were really great. And also the sort of Sarek acknowledging to Michael his failures, right as a father, and it's weirdly easier for him to do that to her because she's not his son. And there's a really wonderful tension that James Frain portrays beautifully here, because he can do that with Michael, but he can't do that with Spock.
Well, one nice thing they did was in the very first appearance of Sarek in Journey to Babel in original series, they made it clear that Sarek hadn't spoken to Spock in years.
Like 50 years, yeah.
And so they made sure to maintain that. Even an episode where you had Spock and Sarek on the same ship at the same time, they do not see each other. Mm-hmm. They made sure not.
Do they not see each other at all?
No. So, there was a whole thing about when they thought Spock was going to come on board in Red Angel in the first episode of season 2. And Sarek was like, I haven't seen him in years. What am I going to do? But then he ended up not beaming over because we didn't know at the time he wasn't there. But yeah, when he was on the ship, Sarek kept his distance.
I gotta watch the ending again to that season because I think I'm a little confused about how that went down.
We did have when Spock was found in the mausoleum. I can't remember the term they use for where the Katras are stored in Vulcan.
The Ark.
Yeah.
The Katric Ark.
They are there, but at that time Spock is mentally frazzled, and Sarek basically, I'm not looking at him, I'm not acknowledging that he's here, I'm just pissed off that he's here. Like they were in the same room and they did their best to act like.
Is Jermaine
they weren't, yeah.
Jermaine, what are you doing?
Oh, he's reading.
Oh, okay.
You should be done with lesson plans, brother.
Right.
I'm
I
sorry, I
remember.
have-
I'll be the first to say that I wasn't sold on Spock for a long time, even in the Stranger
You were not.
Worlds.
No,
Even in
you were
Stranger
not.
Worlds.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the season though, and the mystery of like what is the Red Angel. Although the physics of it was a little off to me. Like, how are you seeing something? 50 light years away, 50,000 light years away, or 30,000 light years away, and real time was kind of weird. And I don't know. Anyway,
well, they were getting reports from all throughout
The uni-
space.
yeah.
So it wasn't like just their Discovery's ship picking it up.
Right, it was everywhere.
Okay.
But I love the Red Angel storyline. I thought that it was very clever and very uniquely done. I'm sorry. But I also love that in all of the appearances, you got these nuggets that also allowed you to deepen your understanding of different characters within the actual series. So we learned a lot about Saru and seeing like
Saru goes through Vaharai.
Exactly. And we got to learn about like Saru's eyes. I didn't know like his vision was like
microscopic.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
But we got to see
Ariam died.
We are going to get to that episode. Give me a second.
Let's just hold on. Let's not talk about the sad things, even though it was sad to see someone die, but we didn't really know her. Other than like
that was the problem.
Right.
That was the problem, right? So
but we know the whole cast was useless during Star Trek Discovery.
I feel like they should have planned that out. They should have planned that out.
I love
3
the
or 4
concept
episodes
of the Red Angel. I love the concept. I loved the promise of where they were going with it. Unfortunately, I don't think narratively it stood up. Because a lot of the Red Angel sort of breaks down logically because you start missing some of the thematic impacts. And I think the Ariam episode really kind of highlights that for me. Because the Ariam episode so profoundly misunderstands the appeal of Ariam. Because it's this automatic assumption that we are going to be emotionally invested in this character. Yes, we've seen her,
right?
But Discovery never really develops the bridge crew, like even into season 5.
Turn your light on.
Right?
Worthless.
Yeah.
Worthless.
Yeah.
Worthless.
Season 5,
And
they just got they weren't even there.
And so you spin this. So you spin this with this character that we've seen, and you're asking me to buy in now, 10 episodes. And if you contrast that with asking me to buy in emotionally with what goes on with Sito Jaxa,
yeah,
it's apples and oranges. It is apples and oranges.
Yeah, Cito, you only knew for 1 episode, right? But you still...
do well, technically 2, because remember, they actually brought her back from the Nova Squadron episode, right? But we have these tremendous moments of Sito where she's taking agency, and like even though they sort of do that with Iriam, it doesn't quite land.
But it also, the whole episode, when you look at Lower Decks, Next Generation, the whole episode was literally centered around her. I feel like every scene was in some way, shape, form, or fashion devoted to her development, her character development, even if she was like kind of like secondarily like featured. The whole idea of her fighting for the promotion, the whole fight she had with Worf, they did not have that same sense or that same like approach.
They played her memories on the beach, and so we were supposed to fall in love with her.
I mean, but didn't she erase like 55% of the memories?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just sitting here over like, you want
I still think
you want me to bond with this character over some Pinterest ass Whitebridge shit? Like
Then
what?
they brought it back for season 5. I still think they should have brought Cito back for Picard. That would have been.
Except she was dead.
Jason's down somewhere.
Nobody's dead unless you see a body.
Bring back the corpse.
Well, they brought it back to lower deck, and in a way that added to the story. So.
Very
Do you not watch All My Children? People die and come back all the time.
Can we please give Maxwell context on the Lower Decks episode of TNG?
Okay. Well, okay.
Yeah, what the fuck is happening?
There were 2 episodes of TNG. First was First Duty, in which you had a storyline involving Starfleet Academy and Wesley Crusher from the Next Generation cast at the Academy, in which a cadet was killed, and one of the fellow cadets in the squadron with Wesley was this Bajoran girl named Cito Jaxa. Flash ahead to season 7, they had an episode called Lower Decks, where the perspective of the entire episode is told from 4 ensigns on board the Enterprise D. One of those being Cito Jackson, now a member of the security team
Don't tell him what happened.
on Enterprise D. I'm not telling him everything. I'm just giving him context, okay? Although you guys already gave away that she dead.
We are so far out of the spoiler window. I'm sorry,
saying that
Maxwell,
we don't
but
know
like,
she's dead.
Yeah, I'll probably won't remember it when I get there. So
I don't know
but
any.
this episode is so old it can vote and drink liquor.
The only don't spoil for Maxwell
And
episode that I
Car.
was These Are the Voyages, but I can't think of any other episode. Maybe
we
movies.
can just not talk about that episode ever again.
No, we cannot because we all have to vent our trauma.
I watched him as he suffered, and I didn't have the words. But
Why
he had
did he have to die? That's on.
He didn't. It was stupid.
I think Max, you had a
read the
good.
books. He didn't.
Yeah, I think Max, you had a good explanation or possible future explanation for what had really happened to Trip.
Yeah. What I choose to believe is that okay. This actually makes sense. So these are the voyages. It's in the perspective of the TNG crew, Riker and
Troy.
Troy. We see the computer playback of the, I guess, final episode, the day of the Coalition of Planets, and we see in that episode that Trip dies, but I forgot. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Too profound.
The key thing is that it is a reproduction. It's not like they had cameras on board the ship.
Right. Yeah. That maybe.
Which was a glaring security flaw, I might add, on all Starfleet.
It really is. Let's be
Also,
honest.
the lack of bioscanners.
I got a question about season 2 Discovery.
Yeah, I think Trip becomes a Section 31 or a time travel agent or something like that.
Section 31
I
operative
choose
in
to
the
believe.
books. So all right, Jason.
If they conquered Control, why did they need to go into the future?
They were already on their way at that point.
That's a good question, Keith.
You can turn.
Yeah.
You can turn.
Well, thing is, Michael was already gone. So if all of a sudden Discovery turned and Michael went by herself.
Okay.
It's like if the whole point, and I'm not gonna lie, I love season 2, love it. But if the whole point was to keep Control from essentially outdoing the Borg,
assimilating Discovery,
assimilating the entire, not just Discovery, but the entire galaxy, it seems, and killing everything in its wake. Then once Giorgio, killed, what's his name?
Leland.
I don't know.
Then what was the point? And like she said it on the ship, and then Saru was just like, "Copy that. We're on our way." I'm like, "Oh, we're still going? Okay, cool, great." Like,
well, there is the worry that just because they killed Leland, that doesn't mean Control completely was gone. It's just that he was no longer controlling all the Section 31 ships.
That's fair. So,
Or maybe that even though he didn't control the future, he could still control the present, and then it lead up to the future. That's just my thought. That he assimilates everything now. I am trying. He's assimilating the galaxy in the present, and then when they get to the future, oops!
They
there's all control.
They
already.
shut down the balance of control because that was important, right? Like they had to shut down the balance of control. in order to have Strange New Worlds, in order to have TNG and TOS, it proceeded as expected, basically. So that was the point of the whole combat between Giorgio, like symbolically, between Giorgio and Leland. So yeah, I mean, that's a very real question. You could make an argument, though, that the idea was that we couldn't be trusted with the sphere data.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of flinging Discovery into the far future was to protect this information.
That's a little. I mean, that's just like dumping your garbage in somebody else's backyard, though, isn't it? Like they don't know where they're going in the future.
I really hate that
arguing.
I really hate that I've agreed with Jason for the second time on this show. But it's true.
Because I'm always right, William.
No. Hey, I ran out of water, so chill out.
It's okay, William. We have a support group for this.
Thank you. So no, but that's actually a really valid thing. It's just like, isn't that a little? Now I understand protecting our prime universe. I get that. I do. I'm here for it. But isn't that like a little selfish? That okay, we're part of a federation of planets, and yet we want to give our problem to someone else.
Right. Don't you think there's going to be more AI in the future?
So let's just say, hey, we're good for the next 1,000 years. Let's let them deal with it. Like, hopefully they'll deal with it. Like, you don't know that. Like,
and that's ultimately what happens, right? When we get to seasons 3 and 4, right? We find a profoundly different political landscape. We find a profoundly different understanding of what things are, and then we've got to fix the Federation.
Yeah, because of the burn, everything.
Well, the burn and everything. I mean, we get the hints of in season 3 that there were divisions in the Federation before the burn happened.
Right, they were starting to break up.
Of dilithium, that there was less dilithium available, and they were trying to come up with the alternate forms of travel. And the Vulcans quit the Federation because they felt they were blamed for the burn because of their technology they were working on. They were worried that they caused the burn and not some screaming Kelpian child.
My question. That's my question, right? I could solve this right now. You have replicators that can make food. Why can't you replicate dilithium crystals?
It's too complex. The molecules are too complex, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah, there's
always filet mignon.
There are certain things you can't replicate. Like you can't replicate latinum.
Because magic.
Oh.
You have to have some. You have to have some border and hindrance to everything that you create within a fantasy.
Because magic.
Because otherwise, like you said, if they could just replicate anything, then everything is anything.
I think it's safe to assume they can replicate food and they can replicate tools, but they can't replicate energy sources
and people. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
In a way.
I do recall in Voyager, like they would replicate a whole meal, and that would be like one replicator ration. Then Perry Kim needed 7 replicator rations to make his clarinet.
Oh, the clarinet. I'm sorry. I was thinking
you've been counting rations. I don't think that's even.
That was the mention, and it was just something that stuck in my head. No, the flowers that he replicated was a whole other thing because he replicated them for a holographic character. What the fuck?
I mean, you gotta have a boundary. Like you like even with the transporters, that's really theoretically there's no more death, right? You just create somebody from their last transporter log or whatever.
I mean, with the exception of the law of conservation of mass and energy, right? Like
no, you can get mass and energy from anywhere. They put all their garbage in there. You can turn that into a person.
No, the idea is though they don't store the person in the pattern buffer, although they have used the pattern buffer to de-age and help other people.
I'm thinking Dr. Pulaski.
Yes. Where did Jason just disappeared? Okay.
Oh, I'm gonna say who?
Yeah, where did you go?
You're in cancer pattern buffers.
Do you know? There's so many people on this show. I actually name checked everyone. Like who that? Like,
but yeah, the idea is that once you are, once you are beamed in, you're no longer in the pattern buffer, and it's not like they kept a copy of you in there. It's like
several times, like
when you were in, and
several times, like let's say Beverly Crusher went back to your last transporter log to fix something or to know something about you. They've done that.
Well, they keep the copies of the scans from bringing you on because they got to put you back together, but your actual pattern is not saved. So it's like we scanned you to make sure you were right, and then your pattern was reassembled.
I'm gonna add to Michael's point on that, because remember in Deep Space Nine how much data they had to delete just to save Sisko and Bashir and all of them, like just
Arman Bashir.
Arman Bashir.
First of all,
save them. So no, they wouldn't keep a copy in the buffer.
The amount of data that you would have to save someone is a lot. Like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And the first time
except that it happened with what's his name? Riker. What was it? Lieutenant Riker?
No.
You mean Thomas?
No, that's not what happened there.
And also with Scotty.
With Scotty, yes.
Riker different.
But Scotty actually set that up as a repeating loop in the pattern buffer. Right. So Scotty actually effectively disables the deletion portion and just creates like this ongoing memory loop so that he and what's his nuts who dies don't die.
But also remember that his pattern was still degrading even though he had it in that continuous loop.
Right. So there was a bit of there was data degradation.
And we've seen that brought up again. They brought up in Strange New Worlds with the hospital where they were putting patients in the pattern buffer that they couldn't treat, but saying that they were still degrading in there.
Right. Yeah. And then they had to basically just delete them. And it was awful and traumatic. So thank you for bringing that to my memory.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, they did have to delete them. That's kind of...
Yeah. I believe Nurse Chapel must make that call.
Yep.
Why didn't you just put them on a thumb drive?
I don't think there's a thumb drive big enough. I think it's got to be.
But in the future, we can have quantum. We can have quantum thumb drives. Cam, we will get to the favorite episodes, but I do want to talk about the concept. I do want to talk about the concept of the burn. I want to bring us back to Discovery because I really, really loved the idea of the burn. I really loved the idea of this external activity that could so disrupt
everything.
The socio-political framework of the Alpha and Beta quadrants. What are you doing?
What the hell are you doing?
Trying everything possible to negate everything that Marie is saying positive about the burn.
Calm down. Calm down. Because what I am saying, hold on, listen to what I am saying. I'm not saying that I like necessarily the burn itself, but I like this idea of this energy crisis, right? Because this is an entire conversation that we have had in the past and that we will have in the future.
Mm-hmm.
As we talk about how energy impacts, our geopolitical system. And so to have that kind of disaster translate into Star Trek, translate into the utopia of the Federation was really interesting to me. To sort of watch how, where are the flashpoints? Where are the fracture points in the Federation? And I thought that was a really interesting idea to explore. This is not to say that I love where we went with Su'Kal. I understand why they did it. I understand thematically what the point of that was.
Please explain it to me.
No. We understand it. We understand it, but we don't agree with it. Okay.
I mean, part of it was part of.
I will send you links to my articles on it. Wait, I don't want to relive it.
So did it blow up all the dilithium, or just all the dilithium that was being used
in that? I won't say that sector, but in that half of the quadrant.
No, it was longer than.
No, I'm pretty sure we were out of dilithium. I'm pretty sure they just went.
It was any dilithium in an active warp drive.
That's my question, Keith.
So was it the entire Alpha Quadrant and some of the Beta Quadrant, or?
That's what we're led to believe. Yeah. We're led to believe it goes pretty far.
Because we sure ain't heard from the Klingons again.
This is we don't even have data coming from the Delta and Gamma quadrants.
Ooh.
Right. What happened to the wormhole?
Right. So there's an entire conversation.
Oh wait. I'm sorry. There's the wormholes.
But they do reference them in season 4. That all 4 quadrants do chime in on some of the meetings in season 4.
Yeah, and remember we get the weird changeling. So yeah.
Oh, we did.
Yes,
we did. Bye, Max.
The changelings are still a problem.
But I really do love the idea that because we were talking about like the end of season 2 moving into season 3. The end of season 2, there's a real assumption that we're going into a more advanced version of the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love the idea of they get there and it's not that. Because I feel like that plays into some of the thematic things that we're seeing in Lower Decks, right? And Picard, which is basically, is the Federation as perfect as we think it is? Does it always work for everyone?
Mm.
And the answer is no. No, it doesn't. And so that has a very real political implication for the Federation that I think I would really love to see developed in Starfleet Academy. And, if we ever get Legacy, which it doesn't look like we are, sadly, but it would be great if we did.
In season 3, the whole galaxy, as far as we can see it, is greatly just afraid. They're just scared of anything and everything. The Federation's scared. The Earth is scared. Everybody's just scared and just
they bit more off than they could chew.
Well, no. We basically have this post-apocalyptic galaxy in the same way that we have seen many post-apocalyptic movies of life on Earth, like
and everybody's scared,
or The Postman, or just other ones of the type where people are separated, people aren't talking, and people are scared.
Yeah.
But what we do have in Star Trek that sets it apart is we have the gentleman from that first episode, whose name I can't remember, I'm sorry, who gets up every day.
Suhail.
Suhail gets up every day and goes and opens communication and conducts himself according to the ideals of the Federation. Because at its heart, Star Trek is about hope. Star Trek is about reaching out and communicating and forging relationships with people who don't necessarily look like you or think like you, but finding common ground. The idea that folks are folks. It doesn't matter if you're Chinese or Klingon.
Mm-hmm.
There's a commonality there. And I love that there is that the episode that season begins with that reminder and ends with it.
Yeah, literally. The first episode is called That Hope Is You Part 1, and the final episode is called That Hope Is You Part 2.
Yes. Which I thought was a really
I didn't realize that either. That's
really cool. In fact, when they originally released the names of the episodes, they lied to us and gave us wrong names for the last 3 episodes of the season. Ooh. Because because the penultimate episode was called Su'Kal, and the final episode being That Hope Part 2, they did not want to give away anything with the titles of those episodes,
right? Because that hope, because I really think that hope wasn't just Burnham and the Discovery crew. I think it was Suhail.
Mm-hmm.
That is such an important thematic moment, right?
Kind of sad that he's only a lieutenant at the end, but that's still better than Harry Kim got in 17.
Well, all through Star Trek, like especially in TNG and DS9, you have this fundamental idea of Starfleet being the pinnacle morality of the universe, right? Like nothing beats Starfleet's thought level, and in times when like Picard sees somebody not living up to what he thinks Starfleet is, he's like seriously insulted.
Well, I like that everything post TNG has been showing that there are indeed flaws. I mean, we saw the political flaws in TNG, but we saw the physical, political, everything flaw, everything new trekking forward.
Like we have Section 31, right?
Yes.
I think but I think what you're looking at is really interesting because in TOS and TNG, it is very much this concept of truth, justice, and the American way in space, right? Because Roddenberry himself was very steeped. I mean, he was a member of the Greatest Generation, guys. Like, he was very, very steeped in the supremacy of,
Don't embrace that nonsense.
Hold on.
What nonsense?
Give me a second. Have you ever known me to embrace nonsense and not back it up?
I mean, what makes them the Greatest Generation? So-called.
I am calling them by the moniker. He was part of that World War I generation. He fought in World War I.
The first generation boomer.
No.
Second generation.
No.
Oh.
No, what Maria's saying. Maria.
Just let Marie talk.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, so what I'm going to say is Roddenberry was very steeped in this Western liberal, the superiority of Western liberalism, right? And I don't mean liberal like liberal conservative. I mean liberalism with respect to politics and also economics, like the way we think of the world. Mm-hmm. And so we see that in TOS. We see that in TNG. Those are the 60s and the 80s, right? Where everything was working. We start to move into the 90s where things start to not quite work so well. And we start to see fracture points in Deep Space Nine and Voyager. In Deep Space Nine, it's the Maquis. In Voyager, it's the hot mess that is Voyager. I love Voyager, but yes.
What do you mean hot mess?
Well, Deep Space Nine, also the very idea of them, O'Brien's weekly fight against technology that is the mess that was Terra Nor, Deep Space Nine.
Right.
Well, Gene Roddenberry's idea was, in 200 years, I really hope that we are doing better.
Right, but Roddenberry's concept of better is taking Western liberalism and extrapolating it further. And what we're now getting in modern Trek is this question of, yeah, but is it? Does it work for everyone?
Well, it's like,
and the answer is ultimately that no, it's not working for everyone. We're seeing that in Lower Decks. We saw that in Picard, and we even saw it a little bit in Discovery. And so so we have to start reconceptualizing what we think this ideal version of society is.
We're
not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, if you will permit the metaphor. But we're also recognizing that there are things that have to change.
But that's the same thing as. So really what we're talking about is the Constitution of the United States, right?
No.
Yeah, no,
not that literal.
No, it's the same thing. It's an idea.
Not quite.
No, hold on.
Okay, no. Okay, we're gonna let him. We're gonna give him the rope.
It's an idea that people had at the time that at its basis had a certain morality, a morality they didn't have at the time, but its structure communicates throughout the ages to having a certain morality for everybody and everything. And it's rooted in the Constitution. It's just an idea of having something better. And we've constantly been reworking and looking at it, the Constitution, for what it actually is and what
I think I see what he's saying.
Yes. Okay.
The idea of the Constitution. Yeah.
Right. We're going to set aside the actual reality of the document, which would have considered you
not the reality of it,
person.
But where it could go from its fundamental basis of how it formed, where it could go and how it takes us throughout the years when we try to construct this thing what we call morality. It's still rooted in the basis of the Constitution. Everything that we have right now.
Well, I think more so to me, they're challenging the fundamental underpinnings of capitalism that our society is built on. Less of the actual Constitution and the rights that are granted under us as a society and what we've decided to do, but more so again looking at the social system in which we are constructing and carry out our day-to-day lives.
Capitalism isn't born in the Constitution.
I know.
I don't necessarily agree as far as you're going with like to morality with respect to the Constitution, but that's a whole different kettle of fish. But I do like your idea of this idea with a built-in amendment process. Recognizing that the idea that we have right now is not going to be the idea we have several hundred years down the road.
Right. So look at Gene Roddenberry. He has an idea about people in the future. All the women were made to be,
I wasn't allowed to vote. I know.
And
yeah.
And there weren't gays. There weren't trans. There weren't.
I mean, there were.
Anything,
there were. It was just nobody's business.
Right. But his fundamental ideas, why it didn't like predicate at that time, those ideas that he had now in the future are flourishing more, but it's still based on his original concept and idea of the future. Even though you didn't see it then.
I think that's a really interesting conversation. And I think that's going to have to be a conversation we have in part 2, because we are 5 minutes past the hour. And as I said at the very beginning of this podcast, Keith knows shit and would like us to also know shit. So I am going to turn this over to Keith. But before we do, I am going to say we are going to continue next week with the continuation of this discussion as we look back at Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, we'll wrap season 3 and get into the perilous journeys of seasons 4 and 5 of Discovery next week, as we are still 2 weeks away from Prodigy season 2.
And we'll talk about the relationship between Burnham and Book. Hey,
I mean, if you want to,
you got to.
Okay, all right. So quick.
Somebody has to be happy here.
Quick news list before we wrap up. I got 3 news stories for you. First of all, there was an interview done with Screen Rant for Hiroyuki Liao, one of the actors in Section 31. Talking about the movie, he said that it's very, very intense. I can't say really much about anything about who I play. All I can say is that my guy is very, very intense. Without giving anything away, he's a broken soul and hurt people. I think I gotta leave it at that. Otherwise, I get in trouble, but I love playing him. He's maybe one of the greatest characters I've had a chance to play, and working with my hero, Michelle Yeoh, for such a long time has just been an insane time for me. I'm working with so many people that I've admired for so long. Michelle Yeoh is just everything, and I loved working with her. It was such a special cast as well. I've been on cloud 9. I'm so lucky. If you told this kid from Brooklyn that this is where he'd be 20 years ago, I would have never believed you. I'm so fortunate. I'm speechless. So high praise for Section 31 from another member of the cast, who we don't know what role he'll play just yet, but it'd be interesting to see.
When is it coming out?
They have finished filming it, so it's in post-production now. The hope is that it'll be out before the end of the year.
Okay.
And I will note that also one of the other cast members of Section 31, Sam Richardson, who also has appeared in shows on Apple TV like The After Party and Ted Lasso and various other roles over the past few years, was present with the other Star Trek cast at the Peabody Awards ceremony this past week. So it was interesting seeing, Patrick Stewart and Jerry Ryan and Walter Koenig and all these others. And then
Scott Bakula was photoing people. So Max, you should be pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
Bakula and Porthos.
Okay. Otherwise, in the news, we do have another cast announcement for Star Trek Starfleet Academy, and that is the hiring of Mr. Paul Giamatti as the quote-unquote villain for the first season of Starfleet Academy. He will have a recurring guest role. They built him as a sort of villain. They didn't give us anything more than that.
Do we know what race he's going to be?
I'm going to guess Tellarite, but that's just typecasting on my part.
Is he on tap for an OBE?
He's not British, so...
What is that?
Well, you said sir. So...
I know.
He did say
he played John Adams, so I feel like he should be.
Okay.
Yeah. He also played Rhino.
Yes, in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah, and his father was Bart Giamatti, who was briefly the commissioner of baseball and is the guy who banned Pete Rose for life.
Wow, interesting.
And is best friends with Haven McCullough, who is the writer of John Adams and various other historical works. Yes, my mind is a font of useless information. All right, and finally in the news,
to support you on Jeopardy, Keith.
Well, my good friend Josh Haidt will be on Jeopardy next Friday, the 21st. He follows my friends Adam Wallach. Well, let me think. I have 5 friends now that have been on Jeopardy, and Josh is the latest one. So be watching.
Ooh, you beat me. I have 3.
I have 1.
I had none.
Yeah, be sure to watch Friday, June 21st. My friend Josh Haidt from here in DC, originally from New Jersey, and root him on.
My understanding is that Kristen Sosol did quite well.
So, okay, the final news story. So I talked last week about the proposed merger between Paramount and Skydance, and that merger is now off.
What?
It was announced yesterday that the plan that they final negotiating had fallen through. They had seemed like they had a deal, but all of a sudden, they backed away. Then there was another deal, a possibility from Warner Brothers Discovery getting involved, and they backed out. So now people are wondering what the hell happened. Basically, Sherry Redstone, who owns 80%, she owns the family holding National Amusements Incorporated, which owns 80% of Paramount. She had the last word, and she decided no. Whether she was holding out for more money, we're not sure. Whether she didn't like the economic terms that were set off. There's belief that maybe she saw something in Skydance's books that she didn't like. Maybe she just didn't like David Ellison. That's possible as well. There's also the belief that they did not feel that Skydance would be able to actually properly run Paramount once they took over. So, of course, this was going to be a merger, not a straight-up sale. So now they're back to the drawing board. Sony is still offering to buy off pieces of Paramount, not the whole thing. And there are also talks of also selling off pieces of it. But she looks like she just wants a straight cash for share sale. And there are a couple people that have come forward and expressed interest now. Let me find out. This was an article in Deadline yesterday. Edward Bronfman Jr. with Bain Capital, also, which is the company that Senator Mitt Romney used to run before he was governor of Massachusetts and ran for president, as well as producer Stephen Paul had also expressed interest in buying out Sherry Redstone. So there's still negotiations to be had, but yeah, the deal that was on the table has been thrown.
Can I be spotlighted for just 1 second?
Sure.
No.
1.
You're on.
Can I be spotlighted for 40 seconds?
Anyway, if we don't just stop this nonsense and sell Paramount to Byron Allen and the Allen Media Group and move on. He said he wants to buy it. He got the money. He has the experience. Just sell it back. Just sell it to Byron and move on.
I'm not even in the Deadline piece, so
you should write a letter to Paramount if that's how you feel, Mr. Greer.
I mean, I'm just saying, if he can run the Weather Channel, he can run Paramount.
That's 2 different things.
So is everyone okay?
Several magnitudes of difference there, and yeah, who is it?
Looks like they're on to me.
What's wrong, William? What's the problem?
Damn it, Michael.
It's been a long road.
Jason, do you not hear the siren?
There from here. Yeah, it's outside my house.
Oh, okay.
That's you.
Wow. All right, we just got a little bit of Chicago realness right there.
Wow.
Okay, remember
if you hear sirens, police cars, gunshots, just ignore it. It's just
just
how
ignore it.
Okay,
you forgot.
Comment below and give us your thoughts on the first 3 seasons of Discovery, and be sure to join us next week as we can complete our talk of season 3, 4, and 5 as we say goodbye to Star Trek Discovery. And be sure you check out our YouTube channel, which is now featuring not only these live casts, but also some wonderful shorts being put together by Will and Max make sure you like, share, and comment on those. So,
and we'll get to the favorite episodes next show because we were asked to do that and we didn't do it.
Episodes of Star Trek or Discovery?
Although I feel like that is its own episode.
I love
do that as its own episode.
Yeah, it really. I think that's its own episode.
Yeah,
that can be its own episode. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think CamTV is going to have us inspire us for not next week, but the week after.
Week after.
Oh yeah, and plus we got in 3 weeks we'll have 20 episodes of Star Trek Prodigy season 2.
I am so excited that we have it now.
And people have to have self-control. Because we can't go through 20 episodes in one show.
No, yeah.
Have you met me?
No,
I work from home now.
You know what you have to do. You have to watch all 20 episodes, but then we're only going to talk about 2.
But then people are going to do spoilers the whole time.
That's true.
Poor Max. Poor Max.
I'll just watch it all. I'll watch it all.
My kids, I'm so proud because my kids finally got into Prodigy, and now they're so excited.
Question: how do we objectively talk about 2 episodes at a time if we watch all of them at once?
Exactly.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, watch all 20 when they first come out because
just
we
watch
got
all
it
the
that
time.
first day, and then watch the 2 episodes the day of the recording, so those are fresh in your memory.
Yeah, watch 20 of them, but remember 2 of them.
Well, no, you watch 2 of them for a second watch, so they're fresh in your memory.
I love you, Keith, but I'm not that awesome.
Yeah, watch the
But
first and last
I'll
episode.
just watch
As
one at a time.
always, like, subscribe, share. Let us know what you'd like to see. We look forward to seeing you next week for episode 2 of this discussion and Bean footage.
Wait, Jason, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you being right now? I gotta know.
I'm serious, dude. You got
like 10 out of 10 serious, or picking on Michael serious? Which one?
There is no temperature in space. It's not cold.
What are you serious?
Okay, wait.
Who is? Oh dear God! It just got
because you
better.
said his name.
Welcome to the party, Michael.
No, that is not how we're going to end the episode because Keith actually has like a legitimate news update. He knows shit, and we should possibly like convey that knowledge.
That's my favorite line. He knows shit.
It's just like a black and red mound. It's like.
Why are you describing yourself?
What the hell?
Hello from
Hey, Virgil.
Hey,
Virgil.
Welcome.
Hello, Virgil. Welcome. Who are you?
Who?